Let's get to the story of the day. I was sleeping soundly in bed, my eyes closed. I was especially tired and depressed. I began to feel unusually light and free as I drifted in and out of a light sleep. I abruptly exited my body through my head and began floating above the bed. This felt completely natural to me. However, I must admit that it took me a few moments to adjust. When I was ready, my spiritual body entered headfirst through a long tunnel that appeared out of nowhere. This was a terrifying experience at first, but after a few moments of zipping through the tunnel, my essence began to speed up and become more in tune with the shape and size of the tunnel. My spiritual body began to disintegrate into a tiny ball of light. My awareness grew in proportion to my shrinking size. I became aware of other spiritual beings zipping and zinging alongside me in the tunnel. Some were heading in my direction, while others were going in the opposite direction. Other beings simply remained nearly stationary. Deep within their spiritual core, I could sense feelings of intense bewilderment and confusion. I had lost track of time. Time was non-existent. The tunnel, me, other spiritual beings, and a very distinct pinprick of light in the distance were the only things that existed with certainty. The light grew in size as I raced towards it. I felt better as I got closer to it. After what seemed like eons in earthly time, I emerged from the tunnel and entered a vast and brilliant field of light. I'm referring to an energy field when I say field. I felt like I was walking on the surface of the sun, but without the scorching heat. The light engulfed everything. Everything was there. If nothingness can be imagined without the darkness of the tunnel, then the light was the nothingness of everything. It was actually, and paradoxically both, very hard to explain here. My first reaction to the light was complete terror. What was I doing? Was it all a dream? No, it couldn't have been a nightmare. The light sensed my fear and immediately calmed me down. It was literally like flipping a switch. I felt intense fear one moment, and then I was instantly filled with immense love, happiness, and joy the next. Maybe the light changed my vibrational pattern. Perhaps my spiritual core was misaligned like a disk drive. Whatever the light did to relax me, it was effective. The light and I began exchanging thoughts, feelings, emotions, and knowledge almost immediately. Telepathy is the best word I can think of to describe the experience, but even that is insufficient. If you can imagine two computers exchanging data in real time, you've got an idea of what I was feeling while in the light. The light had a specific question for me. What have you done with your life, was the question. I thought the question was odd, so I responded with one of my own. Why am I here? What is your name? The question is not who I am, but who you are, the light replied. A series of images and experiences flashed across my vision before I could respond. This was analogous to a projector projecting images onto a flat screen. However, there were two significant differences. The first distinction was that the images were not in chronological order. That is, they were not in any specific order. The second difference was that I could feel, think, see, hear, and experience everyone I'd ever come into direct or indirect contact with and their emotions, thoughts, feelings, and experiences. If you can imagine a series of dominoes cascading down staggered steps like water, this was my experience of being with other people and experiencing both the intended and unintended consequences of my contact with them. This was not a pleasant experience in any way, shape, or form. I saw numerous opportunities to help people and be loving and kind, but I chose to ignore these opportunities and focus solely on myself. To say the least, this was unsettling. The most extraordinary moments in my life, according to the light, are not framed by money, work, drugs, alcohol, possessions, or self-gratifying behaviors. Indeed, what we consider insignificant actions are highlighted as the most important events in our lives. In one scene, for example, I was about 6 or 7 years old. and saw a stray cat hiding under my father's car in Show Low, Arizona. We had rented a cabin for the summer while he worked as a golf course architect. The cat was obviously a stray because it did not approach me. In fact, it almost ran away when I approached it. I debated whether or not to feed it for a few moments. Finally, I went into the cabin and got some beef bologna slices. I ripped them into small pieces so the cat could easily chew on them. I placed the pieces of bologna in a small trail leading up to the cabin, knowing that the cat would not approach me unless I made a special effort. The obviously hungry cat ate each and every piece until it reached the cabin steps from the car. I was able to pet it a few times before it was startled by a loud noise and flew back to the safety of the car. I was bored a few days later and went outside to see if the cat was still there. It was, indeed, under the car once more. I went back into the house and got some bologna from the fridge. I didn't have to arrange the bologna in a small trail toward the cabin this time. Without prompting, the cat approached me and ate the bologna from my hand. It should be noted that we eventually adopted the cat and named her Birdie. She gave birth to 2 kittens, both of which we took in. Smokey and Patches are the names we gave the cats. Smokey had all black fur and beautiful eyes. Patches had white fur and gray patches all over her body. Birdie went missing a year or so later and was presumed to have been eaten by coyotes near Silver Creek Golf Course in Show Low, Arizona. Patches was eventually given away to a family. We only had one cat, Smokey. In the mid-1990s, she died. The light revealed to me that every seemingly insignificant event has significance and that everything happens for a reason, that both the good and the bad have karmic reasons and that we are all linked. The light asked me if I wanted to progress further into the light and end my earthly experience after I reviewed my brief life. My initial reaction was to keep going because I was deeply depressed and had never had even a girlfriend. The light even revealed events in the near future to me. My unborn daughter was shown to me as she played in a field near a large tree. She appeared to be playing with an unknown breed of dog. I assumed the dog was a wolf or an Alaskan breed, such as a Malamute or a Husky. My daughter and the dog appeared to be old friends. If you continue on into the light, your daughter will never be born to you, and she will not have the experience of earthly life. A strong thought entered my consciousness. This was a difficult burden to bear for any length of time, let alone a single moment, so I agreed to return to Earth so that my daughter could be born and experience the world as a soul in a physical body. I occasionally see my unborn daughter with an angel I've named Susan. Susan first appeared to me in 1995, while I was a student at Northern Arizona University in Flagstaff, Arizona. She said she was keeping an eye on me and that normally she's watching me from above. Since 1995, I've had at least 8 angel visits, ghostly encounters, dreams, and NDE or OBE-like experiences. I'm currently experimenting with electronic voice phenomenon or EVP to record the deceased voices on traditional Mylar tape recording media. I was still in Flagstaff, Arizona, and engaged to be married when my grandmother died in 2002. On the evening of her death, July 24, I left my apartment complex and went to the front desk. However, as I approached the office, a large, white Alaskan Malamute stood in a grassy area of the apartment complex, near a wooden fence and some large rocks. The dog was nearly pure white with light blue eyes. On the back was a shade of gray. The tail was long and plume-like, curved like a scorpion stinger. The dog stood about 4 feet tall from toe to head. It stared at me intently as I passed by, then reared up like a horse as if recognizing me. The dog, which lacked a tag or other means of identification, suddenly pinned her ears back and raced towards me. I accelerated my pace because I was afraid the dog would bite me, but it only sniffed my hand before racing around the corner as fast as the wind. I looked around the corner near the office for the dog, but it was gone. I noticed a man checking his mail and asked him where the dog had gone. He made a motion around the other corner. I then searched the entire complex for half an hour and found no trace of the mysterious dog. But it wasn't until a few days later that I realized who that dog was. It was the same dog I had seen several years before, playing in a field with my unborn daughter. The Happy Hunting Grounds spirit dog was similar to some Native American belief systems. The dog, whatever it was not of this world. Since my NDE in 1997, I've had strange sensations such as light sensitivity, the perception of several spiritual entities, including angels and or ghosts, increased psychic ability, example, clairvoyance, additional OBEs, and in one case, a phone call that was barely audible but repeatedly repeated my name before the line conked out.